working, if it's going to the proper place, or if it's just starting its own stream. Yep. What's going on here? Now I know why Hank always sings at the beginning, because it's to figure out if this thing is working. Let me just open this crap right up. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. All right, this is not working properly, I don't think. All right, so why are you? Just trying to get my browser to work here. I don't think this went to the scheduled stream, and I don't know if it's just randomly create its own live one, and things are just not wanting to work here. This is totally a test, doing this to get everything sorted out. Okay, I believe that this is actually streaming live. Now, I have no idea if it's streaming to the one I scheduled, or if it's streaming to just its own thing in the feed. So if you come across this and you made it through the rambling intro of me staring at my screen, let me know if you're tuned into the live scheduled event, or if there's a separate one in the feed, because I have no idea. Anyway, I'm going to open up a beer here. I had to switch to a different view. Hold on. Just trying to get all this stuff on one screen at one time is quite the friggin' challenge. I want to see this chat window. That's that. Okay. So I got the chat window. This is really tricky. Why am I trying to do a stream not knowing how to do it, but also at the same time trying to do overlays and this top-down view? This camera is my iPhone that's using an app that transmits to a window on the laptop, and then OBS is picking that up, and then I'm on the laptop's like internal camera. I gotta complicate it. So hopefully it works. But anyway, what am I drinking tonight? Drinking some Cobblestone Stout, like my newfound favorite beer. I used to be a lager guy. I would always drink lagers. But over the past couple months, I've been really into stouts and porters. And this has been one of the best ones I've found. I've been trying new ones all the time. They also make a vanilla one that's awesome. It's by Mill Street Brewery, which I think is from Toronto. Pretty sure. Yeah, it's from Toronto. Good Canadian beer. So cheers. Welcome to this test stream that I'm guessing is probably coming through very poor quality. Let me know if you can at least hear or see me. It's probably crappy resolution. Right now, we just upgraded our internet, so I'm getting faster, much faster upload speeds than the last time I did this, but I'm still trying to do this from a laptop and just through Wi-Fi, which I'm pretty sure is a bad idea. So if it doesn't work, what I'm probably going to do is run a new Ethernet cable straight to the shop where I do my crafting. So yeah, by the looks of it, it's saying it's got video output low. But I don't know what to do about that. Now, is that does that have to do with OBS settings or just crappy internet? I don't know. Yeah, you guys are going to be experiencing buffering, which is super crappy. I wonder if I can change these settings. Wow. Will it let me do this? I go... Is that going to work? I don't know. Yeah, it's totally stuck. So I just changed the settings on OBS, and I'm wondering if it's improved things. I feel like it probably helped. This is working. If anyone has any idea what the YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain a smooth stream, is that my OBS settings or is that straight up internet being crappy and not good enough to do this? Hey, there's some comments, but I have no idea how long ago they were posted and if this is laggy. I see a comment from Joshua Moore saying the audio is good, and something from David Strange saying cheers. So from right at this point, you could write something in so I know how long the lag is. And is the video working? Like, I know it's probably blurry, but is it choppy? Is it cutting out? Like, all right, David Strange says, I see you. Okay, well, cheers. I think adjusting the OBS settings may have helped. It's not great, but it may have helped. Like I said, this is just a test. This isn't like the ultimate crafting show. What I want to do, my goal, is to get this figured out so that I can do this, and then I can, whenever I have time, do live crafting. Because I find that with the channel, it's very difficult to do the filming, the editing, like all that stuff. But there's lots of nights where I'm just sitting here making stuff for my own game, and it would be a perfect opportunity to hang out with you guys and show you all this stuff that never makes it into episodes. Like right now, I'm working on another styrofoam building. So this is what I'm working on right now. Okay, good. So I see you guys saying no lag, me either. Well, that's good to know. Okay, awesome. Okay, so we can actually maybe just talk about crafts instead of video. So yeah, this is a styrofoam building that I'm working on. You guys may have seen some of the other ones that I posted finished on the Facebook group. I'm going to grab one just for reference. Alright, so giving an example of what's going on, this is a finished one. So you got your first floor. Here's the whole deal together. So you can lift the roof off, and here is the second story. Right, you can see here, stairs going down. This lifts off, and then you have your main floor, which is basically just a tile, right? Break this building down into tiles. I also had, it's over there, but like a hatch to go to like a cellar, and we just used this in my last game. My group encountered being very hungry, traveling on the road for days on an island that they were shipwrecked on. They starving, finally found this house with 3 nice ladies in it, offering to give them a nice warm meal and to spend the night. Turned out they were actually 3 green hags in disguise who were feeding them the meat of previous travelers. They made it down into the cellar and they discovered the grisly secret. But anyway, the building was used for that. It was nice because the way the game was playing out, I had some characters in the cellar, I had some characters on the main floor, I had some outside, and I had some on the second story. They'd kind of split. So what that allowed me to do was set up, basically, I should pull this back, on the game table. Everybody was on a different floor, but everybody could see everything at the same time. Like I basically had second floor, main floor. Let me grab it here, actually. I still have some of my stuff over there set up from the other night. There's the cellar to the basement, you know, nice table, or hatch to the cellar, I should say. And basically what I had was this. This is the cellar over here. So I had one of my players up here, I had a couple in the main, and then one down here, and then a few outside. But what was cool is that breaking it up like this, it allowed me to control all the environments at the same time in the turn order, rather than having like a 3D thing where you're trying to get underneath or whatever. So I thought it was pretty cool. I like this idea of being able to break down the building into separate stories and tiles. But then the nice thing is you put it all together and you have a nice 3D building. Like Scotty has his isometric system, which is really cool for showing a representation of the building, and then a floor plan, which is perfect for playing. And that's awesome for when you are playing inside a building. But I wanted these to, I put a lot of work into them, so I wanted them to serve two purposes. One is actually playing inside the buildings, but also just like filling up a table if I want to do a little set piece with a few houses. I don't want to just have the tilescape front. I mean, I made a lot of those. I have them. I like them. I use them. But sometimes you want 3D buildings. So this allows me to make some 3D buildings. Sorry. Those allow me to make 3D buildings that I can use in a town, but still break them apart and kind of do the isometric thing. So, so that's what I'm doing. Whose bright idea was it to split up the party? It was mine. I mean, they weren't like super split. It was all in the same house. But one was led upstairs by a little girl and then into the cellar. Two decided to sleep outside because they didn't quite trust the situation. The hags, disguised as nice ladies, had said that they were having some trouble with an owl bear, I think, or bear. I can't remember. I think it was an owl bear. And that's how they convinced them to spend the night, was basically, hey, can you help us? We'll feed you, blah, blah, blah. So two of the players were standing watch for this threat that didn't exist, while the cute little innocent girl was leading one of the players down into the cellar and pushing her into a well full of corpses and bones and meat from past travelers. Am I from the future to help us craft? I guess so. I guess if you're west of me, I'm from the future. I'm in Central Time Zone, so if you're on the west, I'm from the future. But anyways, so that showed you a finished building. So this is the one I'm working on right now. It's not for anything specific. I mostly just wanted something that had some interesting kind of architectural stuff rather than just a box. This in my head could be an inn, it could be a mayor's house, it could be a mill if you add a water wheel to it. But I like this idea of making a building where the main floor was much smaller than the top floor, and made out of stone. So I kind of want to look like the stone little original building had been built off later on top. So anyway, this one, it's kind of hard to do this because I got to flip it this way so you guys can see it. But anyway, this one, take off the top. There's your second story. This one I'm not doing stairs. I just have a hole, and then I'm going to make a ladder like this. This one's too big. It's the one I use in my caves, but I'm going to make a smaller ladder, and it's basically going to go down into there. Then this pops off, and you have your main floor. I kind of have it done up so that you can see the separation between the interior main floor and the outside deck. It's really washed out and white on here, but these are all planks done with the wire brush wood texture, just like on the longboat build we did. So when it's all painted up, it'll look really good. On this one, again, I wanted to have some, I don't know, more interesting kind of angles and designs. So I did these different roof lines. Like this one here is just kind of typical. This one comes out at a kind of interesting angle. It's got the needlepoint plastic to do the iron windows. And as you can see, this is all dollar store foam core, just glued together. And then on the inside I put a little bit of wood just for some support. These little sticks here, they basically act as stops. So when this slides on, you know, you don't want this to fall all the way through. It stops it at the perfect point. So basically where this one is at, I would call it done, minus the styrofoam all has to be sealed with some PVA glue to stiffen it up, and I have to do the shingles. And that's the part that always gets me. On some of the other houses I just did kind of wood plank, which was really easy and quick to do, but kind of a cop-out. The other one I was showing you guys here, this was all done with strips of like a heavy cardstock. It's a cardstock I get from the beer vendor. When you pick individual cans, they have like an 8-pack sampler that you can load yourself, and it has really nice, clean, thick cardstock. So anyways, these I cut in strips and then individually snipped the tiles, not all the way through, and then cut the corners, and then took a pair of tweezers and took each one and bent them, and then glued the strip and then did the next. It took fucking forever. Like, I think doing this roof took longer than it did to do the entire rest of the building. I can build this stuff super fast. Like, I think I did this whole one here in, I don't know, 2 evenings of a couple hours, but these roofs take forever. So I'm really trying to come up with an alternative for this one. I found that the really frustrating part that I didn't like doing was after the strip was cut, trying to individually bend them on the strip and nick them so that there was some actual separation from shingle to shingle was really tedious. So I think on this one, I'm still gonna do the cardstock shingles, but I think rather than doing the strips, I'm actually gonna do individual shingles. I thought the strips would be faster, but trying to shape them as a strip was really slow. So I think this way I'm just gonna cut up a whole bunch and, you know, kind of bend them and misshape them and then glue them on individually. Oh, okay, look, there's actually 10 of you on here. So I'm just gonna catch up here. I'm working on an inn for a Pathfinder game, Wylock method. Very big, similar to this, though you can lift the building and use the base tile. Yeah, the Wylock video, I had been planning on doing a tutorial on these foam core buildings for a while. I posted the first 2 really nice wood ones I did, and people seem to really like them. I already started doing a template for the build, so that just like the longboat, you guys could see the build, download the template, make one, and then run with the method. Before I could even manage to get that done, because other stuff got in the way, life and my own game, whatever, Wylock, after seeing those buildings, decided to make one for his Kings of War game. And he managed to actually film a tutorial on it, which is impressive. Like, his build is a lot simpler than the ones I've done. Like, the methods aren't, it doesn't give you as much of a detailed building. His is just the shell doesn't lift off. Use popsicle sticks for the wood instead of the foam, which is faster and more rigid, but I don't think has the same detail. But anyway, he managed to cram that build into one video, which is impressive, and I got mad respect for him for doing that. The main reason I have not done foam core building tutorial yet is that there's so many techniques in these that I didn't know where to start, and I didn't know how to fit it in. So again, that's part of the reason I'm testing this stream, is because I think what I'd like to do is the next foam core building I start, I want to stream the whole process. And that way you guys can actually see all the different techniques, and then I can do a video with the template and everybody can follow along. So But yeah, you know, his method, it's totally great. It's very similar. The only improvement I would make on it is, yeah, doing the floor tile. And like he could do that with his too. You know, all you gotta do is make a floor tile, pop it off. The tricky thing though is if you're doing the second story, it's taken a while to figure out how to get this working perfectly. Kind of thing that would be nice out of a, you know, a resin cast. But, all right. I used cardstock from the inside of Magic the Gathering Fat Packs. Great chipboard. Okay, funny story, right? You're not going to be able to see this. I'm opening a cupboard right above my workbench here. Come on. Try not to drop everything. Right here is a stockpile of Magic the Gathering Fat Pack cardstock. This is fantastic cardstock. I buy Magic cards like a fiend. I used to play semi-competitively. I don't really have much time for it right now since having the kid, but I still always pick up a Fat Pack and some, you know, sometimes a booster box from every set because I like to have the collection. And I recently started saving these when I realized what good cardstock they were. I wish I had saved it from all of them. But yeah, that's an excellent, excellent source of cardstock. Yeah, the Golgari hat. Yeah, I'm glad someone caught on to that. I wasn't sure. I mean, I figured D&D nerds should cross over into Magic nerds, but knowing the guilds is a special kind of Magic nerd. But yeah, that's awesome, man. Samus the Tinker. I've always used the strip of file folder with narrow notches for slate roofs. Never really had any issues with it, and dry brushes really well. So Samus, I think that's basically the same kind of technique that I was talking about. I think you're probably using a thinner cardstock, which is probably correct. The stuff I was using was slightly thinner than this stuff, which is pretty stiff, so it's really hard to bend. I think doing like more like a file folder cereal box kind of thing would make it a little bit faster. Do you find, Samus, that afterwards that they're stiff enough? Like you don't, like these, the nice thing is that they actually, it almost feels like it's cast. Like you can't pull these up. With a file folder, I don't know if it'd be quite as sturdy, but you could also always, you know, wash it down in glue, I guess. But let me know how yours turned out in the end, because I am looking for options for roofs. I actually was kind of considering doing individual wood shingles out of foam core, but it could take a really long time. I developed this method when doing I guess I can show you on this screen. Why don't I point at the camera? When doing the timbers, you can kind of see, it might be hard to tell, but some of the woodworking, like on this one, it looks like these timbers are embedded in the stone, but they're not. What I actually did was I took dollar store foam core and I cut it, like I rip it down really thin, so that I can put stuff like the planks on without it being too thick. Like if you just take the foam core, you know, it's over 1/8 of an inch thick, it looks silly. So I've been ripping them down, and then I had the thought of maybe taking those and making little squares and just going individually, but I think that would be even harder. So yeah, David, you could put magnets on these. I don't think it's really needed though. If you get your sizes right and you put some stops on, I mean, it stays in place pretty well. Like, I mean, I can tilt it to almost 90 degrees, and yeah, it falls off there. So I think without magnets, it holds in place pretty good. I always see people make comments on people's posts on Scotty's Facebook group about how you could, things could be stuck together better or harder or whatever. It always makes me wonder, do people have really dickish players that just abuse their terrain? Like, I mean, my stuff doesn't get abused. It sits on a shelf. When it's ready for when I'm about to play, I put all my stuff in. I got these kind of kitchen organizers trays. Put everything in there. Put it on the table. Everybody plays gently, like reasonable adults, and then it goes back on the table. So stuff doesn't get thrown around. It's not like wargaming where it's like getting shipped to people's houses and stores and stuff. So, but yeah, I always see people talking about, styrofoam, it's too soft, it's gonna get, well, what are you doing to your terrain, man? Like, respect it. If I had a player at my table who started manhandling my crap to a point where it's gonna get broken, they wouldn't be playing at my table very much longer. I mean, yeah, sometimes accidents happen. Like, by the end of a game night, I've usually had a few, and I've dropped a few things on the floor cleaning up, but I don't know, they all hold up. So, yeah, he says use thicker cardstock like chipboard or even as thin as Hero Box as the base, then layer notch folder strips on top, placing on the time. Yeah, same as like when you say a folder, like you just mean like a legal folder, like for paperwork kind of thing, like a really thin cardstock. David, we drink and get rowdy. I need it. So you guys like just abuse your crap, hey? Yeah, the play table. Actually, you guys have seen it in a few videos. I'll show it the other side of it. So this is the game table. So all it is just a 2x4 sheet of black MDF with a trimmer on it, a set of 6-inch metal furniture legs from IKEA, and then some IKEA LED lights. This is actually, the cool part is, let me unplug some crap here. You plug this in, and there is the lights. And what I like about this is, like, if you're in like a demonic kind of pit, you can be red, changing the mood. Oh yeah, get into some arcane stuff going on with the blues and purples. When my players are fighting the green hags, of course, had to get the green going. Daylight right on to white. So I don't know. I like it. It allows room for a 2x2 game board on top. But the most important thing about this is that it lets my players have their paperwork kind of go underneath a little bit. They can still see it, but it kind of goes underneath where your terrain would be taking up the table. It allows me to keep the room lights dim for ambience, but nobody's squinting trying to see their character sheets. It's like lit up really well. And the best part about this, the reason you should all build a raised gaming table, you know what the reason is? Players filling up the table full of snacks gets in the way of the terrain, makes a mess. They're passing it around, it gets in the way. This way, they have a bowl of Cheetos. They slide it back and forth. I don't even know what's going on. I can concentrate on DMing. The chips and salsa right underneath. If somebody spills, goes underneath on the dining room table. Doesn't touch the terrain. So, yeah. Pretty easy thing to build and implement into your game. I think I built that in half an hour. Then again, I don't know if any of you know this, but I'm a professional carpenter, so I built it out of garbage in half an hour. But I mean, like, realistically, you got no woodworking skills, you can go to Home Depot, buy buy a 2x4 pre-cut sheet of melamine or MDF, walk out of the store with it, go over to IKEA, buy some legs, buy some lights, screw them together, spray paint it black if you want, whatever, you're done. You can make it super cheap. You also don't need the lights. You don't need the color changing lights, but man, I'm telling you, man, it's good. So, yeah, middle folders is found in hanging files. Okay, that's what I thought. Office supplies. Okay, I'm gonna try that. My whole plan with this stream was, if it was working, I was gonna work on this roof. But I think I am going to wait till I can grab a folder, and I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna test that out, see if it works better. So, but yeah, the gaming table is really handy. Although it's already not good enough for me. Basically, right now we play in the dining room. Right now, where I am, this is what used to be my wood shop, but has now turned into the D&D crafting room. So with that transition, I've decided I'm going to fix it up, spruce up the joint, and turn it into a full-time gaming room, so we actually play in here too. Because I'm finding it really annoying that every Saturday night after do dinner, get the kid to bed, I'm rushing to get the table set up, all the props out, all the terrain out, everybody's paperwork out, all set up, good to go. And then we play, and it's usually 2 a.m. by the time we're done. I've had a few drinks, and I don't feel like cleaning up all that stuff. There's a lot, if it's a long game, there's a lot of terrain pieces, props, paperwork, beer bottles, chips, packages, whatever. It's all over the place. And at 6:30 in the morning, I got a 16-month-old little girl who's going to get up and be tearing through the house. So that stuff has to be put away, and I'm sick of it. So anyway, this room, this shop here, which is basically just an empty shop right now that's used to be for woodworking, is going to turn into the game room. And the last step of that is I'm going to build a proper D&D table. It's going to be a big hexagon shaped table. Everyone will have a 1-foot section in front of them for their paperwork, a shelf below to hold stuff, and the whole middle section of the table is going to be lowered. So it's going to be the reverse of that. Whereas that sits on top of your table, making use of your existing dining table, this will be the reverse, where everybody's paperwork will be at regular height, and there will be a lowered big hexagon game terrain area, and I'm going to do the LEDs around it for ambience. And I've been researching miniature micro smoke machines, because I really want to have a tiny smoke machine built into the table so I can put mist and smoke on the table. But I haven't had much luck finding something yet. I found a few people who have stuff in development, Kickstarters. I don't want to deal with that. I just want to buy something or make something. So we'll see. I don't know, maybe that's being a little bit too extreme, but we'll see. Okay. Speaking of materials, where do you get your foam core from? Okay, so styrofoam, extruded polystyrene, is my favorite material to work with. Some people don't like it. Scotty's got his cardboard, I got my polystyrene. I love this stuff. Now, where do I get it? It depends. If I'm buying stuff new, I buy the Owen Corning's, it's called Formular, the one with the Pink Panther on it. I buy it at Home Depot. The Home Depots here stock it all the time in 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 1.5 inch, and 2 inch. So it's always there on hand. A 1/2 inch sheet that is 2 feet by 4 feet at my Home Depot is like $8 or $9 Canadian. So US dollars, I don't know, 6 or 7. So it's really cheap. So I usually use that stuff. Now there is, let me pull over here. Can you guys see what I'm doing here? I got this magic pantry, and it is full of styrofoam. I also have a whole bunch of this stuff. It's another brand, I think Styrospan. It's the blue stuff. This is essentially the exact same as the pink, but just a different brand name. I don't know how it is in the States, but up here, the pink Owen Corning stuff is sold by Home Depot and the blue stuff is sold by their competitor, Rona. I don't shop at Rona too much. I'm a contractor. I do renovations for a living. I'm in Home Depot almost every day picking up stuff. So that's just my go-to place. So I get the pink stuff. But I have a buttload of this blue stuff because on one of our projects, we actually demoed, opened up some walls, and there was like 20 or so 2x4, 1.5 inch thick sheets of this that was going in the garbage. So I cut it up and I brought a whole bunch of it home. So I have 1.5 inch stuff to last me basically the rest of my crafting days. However, I said that they are essentially the same, just a different color, but I don't think that's totally true. You're not going to be able to see this on the camera, but this blue stuff, like the extruded stuff doesn't have the little bubbles in it, right? It's extruded, which I'm not sure how that works, but you can see if you look closely, there's almost like tiny strands of the styrofoam or whatever it is. And the pink stuff has very small, like it's very smooth, the fine grain. The blue stuff has a lot bigger, kind of more woven things. So I found that the blue stuff is great for doing like rocks and rough stuff, but if you're doing detailed things like this floor here, I don't know, I find that the pink stuff is a little bit nicer to work with. I'm guessing you guys probably can't see the difference, but you can almost maybe tell that this stuff has just like some really fine strands, and this is a little bit rougher. But anyway, that is where I go. I go to Home Depot, but you should be able to buy it at any big box hardware store. I know that some people have a hard time finding it if they live in warmer climates, because I guess it's not used as much. Up here, insulation is pretty important, so you can buy it anywhere. And then for the foam core, I use Scotty's tried and tested Dollar Tree, whatever it's called. It's got the American flag on the sticker. I don't have a piece of the sticker on it. Yeah, and that's what I do all that with. So let's just see. Catch up on. Sorry, I'm like behind on your stuff. Like I don't know how Hank does it on the Drunken and Dragon stream. He's got like 70 people watching, and he checks in on the comments. I got 10 people watching, and I can't keep up. It's all fun and games until someone's ranger goes scouting off the edge of the raised tabletop and falls off the edge into the giant pit of salsa. Hey man, you gotta make deck saves. Ends up sleeping on the couch and cleaning up to earn our breakfast. That is a good plan. I am too much of an old married man to have people crashing on my couch. I wish that was the case. I miss the days of people crashing on the couch. Miniature smoke machines, hack a vaping rig. Yeah, that's actually what I kind of came across when I was looking, was people doing it with vaping modifications. But I don't know, everyone I saw seemed kind of cheesy and didn't put out as much smoke as I would like. So I could be wrong. Maybe they're fine. Maybe I have to just use a real, I don't know, I might just get the smallest full-size smoke machine that I can buy, like after Halloween, and maybe hook it up to some surgical tubing at the end and have that go into a hole in the table. I don't know if that will work though. Like, do any of you guys have experience with smoke machines? Like if you funnel that through a tube for a couple feet, is it going to come out good? I don't know. Oh yeah. So just checking in. Let me know for the past little bit. Has the like video and audio been coming through clear? No, no lag or stalls out. Because if it's working, I'm not gonna mess around with the settings for next time. I'm just gonna go with it. So. Okay, so since this is supposed to be a V9A9, I don't know what that means. What is V9A9? Is that a specific like vape? I don't know anything about vaping. I last year quit smoking. I just stopped smoking. So I tried vaping for like once. I hated it. So Vid9 Audio 9. Oh, okay. I can live with that. Like I thought it would be like 2. I tried this like 2 weeks ago just on a whim, and it was horrible. But at the time I had like a little backstory. The area of the city I live in, how can I describe it? It's kind of like the country, but in the city. Like I have a half acreage property. I'm in the bush. I'm in the city, but I'm in the bush. It's like my dream place. It's awesome. But anyway, our street and the surrounding streets had the worst internet infrastructure in the entire city. So I was maxed out on the best internet I could get, and I was getting like 3 to 5 megabytes per second download, and my upload was like 0.2. So anyways, trying to stream with that didn't work so well. They finally just put in fiber optic lines on my street, so I went from 5 megabytes per second to like 28 with like an upload of like 2. So I was like, okay, that should be good enough for streaming, hopefully, but I'm on a different floor from my wireless router, and the test tonight was to see if I can actually stream just from my laptop wirelessly, or if I'd need to run an Ethernet cable down into this room. So if I'm getting a 9 and a 9, I think we're okay, and I can save myself the hassle of running the line. And yeah, and if, you know, if there's a bit of a video or a bit of a audio lag, it's probably not a huge deal. I'm not teaching you how to play drums, and we have to be on time. I'm mostly just sitting here. Also, what do you guys think of the like the double video thing? It was kind of a pain in the ass. So like I feel like if it was just me on the webcam, it wouldn't be that great. And when we move forward, when I'm actually doing a project, I think the top-down thing is kind of nice because it makes it like the tutorials, right? Okay. So, speaking of tutorials, let's do something cool. Okay, so I like when I'm carving, doing these foam things, I found that I really enjoy milling down this foam core to really thin strips like I was showing you, so I could put on wood trimmers and stuff without them, you know, being this thick, because like to scale, that's huge. Like that's a friggin' post thickness. So check this out. This is what we do. Take off the paper. Take off the paper. Just a little strip of dollar store foam core. We got the hot wire sculpting tool. Turn that thing on, let it heat up. Word of advice, if you're gonna order these tools, spend a couple dollars on the tensioning bar that they sell. This thing, when you're doing like freeform stuff, is great, but whenever you want to do anything nice, this is shit. The way they mount these things are horrible. You cannot keep this tight. You have to do this, which is really tiring. They sell a tensioning bar, and according to Mel, the train tutor, it works really well. So it's a couple dollars. Buy it with your sculpting tool. I would buy it in a heartbeat, but it's going to cost me a lot to ship it, so I'm waiting till I maybe buy some more tools from them. So anyway, what I like to do to get these thin strips, I take this, rest this right down onto my table, and run it through. The height of the wire when these bars are resting on the table is almost at the perfect height to rip dollar store foam core right in half. This isn't super precision, but to do planks and raised stones just with some thinner pieces, it works really well. You can also do a similar technique if you want something thicker by using popsicle sticks or something to raise it up. So anyway, after that, we take one foam core and turn it into two. So now we have this really nice thin stock. Then what you can do is, when I'm making a building like this, I'll rip up a few strips and take the wire brush, give it a swipe or two. It gives it that wood grain, and then all of a sudden I have, like, at my disposal, I can just whip up planks. Super easy. So now I have these like really thin strips. So if I want to do like a border like I did on this hatch and lay it on top, I don't know, it just works super awesome. You just glue them in place. It makes the builds look so much more slick because they're not bulky. I noticed that a lot of people, like a lot of the crafts I see, tend to be kind of chunky and bulky. Like, it's just things slapped on. They're not to scale, which is fine. Like, I mean, we're just doing crafts for D&D. This isn't like scale modeling. But I like to push my stuff a little bit further into the modeling zone, and milling up these thin strips allows me to do that. Now, I know that not everybody has a hot wire tool, although you should if you can. I'm just looking for I don't have a small piece of foam core handy, I just have a huge one. But if you don't have that tool, you can do it like, if you know, with the styrofoam or with the foam core board. You can do a similar thing like this, but this is a lot slower. You know, that takes forever. Whereas this, basically, turn it on, and yeah, it works on this too. Look at that. Oh, money. Seriously, how sweet is that? The other nice thing is that when it does it, it really kind of, it melts the styrofoam slightly as it cuts it, so it makes the inside a lot harder. Like, this is considerably harder than this side, almost as much as if you did it. It's like giving it a coat of PVA glue, so it makes these things a lot nicer. So anyway, that's kind of how I do the embellishments. What you can also do, say on a building like this, let's put it this way, if you want to add some more 3D look, I did it on the building I was showing you guys earlier with the square stones. You can cut, like, draw on all your field stones or bricks or whatever, And if you really want to pimp it out, give it that extra little bit of something something, you can, from that thin material, carve out tiny stones. It's a little bit trickier on field stones than it is with bricks, because bricks are just square and you kind of want to follow your pattern a bit. But if on each side you were to say add, 3 or 4 extra little stones projected like this, when you paint it up, it's going to give it a lot more depth, and it's going to look, I don't know, it's going to give the illusion that these stones are actually stacked, right? Do it like that, glue it on, and it's only raised up, under 1/8 of an inch, but it gives it that that nice look. Like, so you can see here on this one, I drew on my brick pattern, right? And then I just did a handful of these projecting stones, and it gave it a nice look. And then when I was painting, the last stage, I gave everything a nice wash, and you let that wash kind of really go heavy under the stones, and it gives it that look like it's been sitting and weathered and staining from rain. I don't know. I think it gives a really nice look. Tobias Patrick, thanks for the live stream and previous vids. You're welcome, man. It's no problem. I love doing it. I don't have nearly enough time to dedicate to filming and editing. So, like I was saying earlier, if you missed it, the whole point of testing this live stream thing is to get it going so that I can, when I just have an hour to work on my own project, I can share that with you guys. Because a lot of the time for the tutorials, it's like I build something for my game, and then I think that would make a good tutorial, and I build it again, which, when I'm playing my game every 2 weeks and needing to build my own stuff, it kind of sometimes is counterproductive to be building things a second time just for the sake of video. I've done it a few times, like the tentacles. That was for my game, and I filmed the process while I built it for myself. But I found that was actually kind of a tricky way to do things, because I wasn't doing, like, I don't know, it wasn't planned out. Like when you're building yourself, you're kind of just going. With a tutorial, you want to plan what the hell you're doing. So anyway, this way I can just be working on a project, showing you what I'm doing, sharing some of the techniques as I come up with them or use them. Stuff that wouldn't make it to a video, you guys can share with me some techniques. Like, I'm already going to try that. I'm going to try using some thinner cardstock, like folder material, for the shingles on this one. And yeah, I don't know. I can't keep up with videos all the time, but this I think I can do if it works. Like, if the technical stuff actually works, I can drink beer and talk and craft for an hour or 2 a week. That's easy. Okay, this is another foam core technique, because I'm gonna grab it. Okay, Scotty can build anything out of cardboard. I can build anything out of styrofoam. And a good example is, you may have seen me post this lantern. Wood beam lantern on a rock base. Looks awesome. Pop it right in front of a building. Put a lantern on it. It's got a hook so you can take this off. You could make up little signs for your inn, whatever. And this is the kind of thing that, I swear to God, it looks like it's cast. Like, it looks like it's, some kind of Hearst Arts thing with styrofoam. Most people, I think, when they build something like this, would turn to craft sticks or dowels or whatever because it's wood, but you don't have to. You can make this out of styrofoam. It's way faster. It's maybe not quite as strong, but it is way faster. Basically, you mill up some 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch styrofoam for your beams, okay? And that's what these are. This is just a couple beams. But the problem with this is, you know, obviously you could break this pretty easily if you wanted to. So, toothpick, a sharp toothpick. Right in the middle of the bottom, twist, push, keep pressure all the way around, keeping it straight. Now you have a piece of styrofoam, that wood right up the middle. It's strong. It's not going to break. I mean, you could break it, but so say that's too long. But say you want it this long. So now you have this piece here, wire brush, give it wood texture, and you know, you can really carve this up to look worn and weathered. It's what I like about styrofoam, man. You can sculpt it. Wood is strong, you can cut it and you can put something together, but you can't really carve it as easily as the styrofoam. Like, I mean, yeah, you can't carve wood. That's a stupid statement. You can, but popsicle sticks, I'm telling you, they look like popsicle sticks unless you get out chisels and actually cut some wood grain into it and put some effort in. But most of the time it looks like popsicle sticks. Take your styrofoam, wire brush the wood grain, buy a set of like 20 nail files from dollar store, hit the edges kind of randomly so that they look like they were carved, you know, 50 years ago and have been weathered, right? And there, you have a super strong wood beam. It's exactly how I did this one that supports the decking on the second story of this building. There is a toothpick that runs right through this. And the nice thing is, if you can kind of see, as I was poking the toothpick up, I was able to kind of bend this to give it a gnarly, kind of natural look, so it didn't just look like a stiff square. But basically, you can build anything out of timbers and toothpicks, you know. Put one here, and you can use it to attach two together. This toothpick is way too long to do this with. Hold on. So if you, I borked it up wrong end. I borked it, guys. I borked it. Hold on. Let's start again. So you take one, poke your hole, feed your cut one into it. Whatever. You get the idea. You can take two, you can poke them together, do it neater. I'm rushing. And then this is just a hunk of the insulation foam carved up like a stone, and then that toothpick skewers right into it. A little bit of PVA glue and some sand to kind of lock it in, and on the bottom put a couple washers, right? Nice and heavy. So what is the point of this story? The point of the story is that I think that you can craft just about anything out of styrofoam. So my question to you guys, I was planning on doing this in a video, and maybe I still will, but because more people will see that. The question to you is, what do you want? Challenge me. Pick an item, and I will choose from them the most interesting, and I will build it out of styrofoam. So it could be an item that lots of people have already crafted using other materials, but not really out of this. So you pick something, you tell me, and I'm gonna see if I can make it out of styrofoam. Like this. Like who's gonna say like build a lantern post out of styrofoam? Why would you do that? Why don't you build it out of craft sticks? Because styrofoam is awesome, and we love styrofoam. So that's my challenge. The farm stuff needs a vid. Yeah, that's been something I've been planning on doing a video on since I made it, because there's some cool techniques in there and everybody needs farm stuff. Problem is that I haven't needed farm stuff since making that for my own game, so I haven't made any more, so it hasn't made a video. So what I'm going to do is, this is empty. I'm going to pop over to the kitchen, which is just a few feet away, grab another beer, crack it, and then I'll bring down some of those farm pieces, and I'll just give you a kind of quick overview of some of the techniques that I used on them. Be right back, like 30 seconds. I told you I wouldn't be long. Keep your friends close and keep your ales closer. Don't blow up. Damn widget. Sorry. This one here, it's another one I've been enjoying lately. Kilkenny Irish Cream Ale. It's good stuff. Okay, so I'll grab the farm stuff in a minute, but let's see. Covered wagon with functional wheels. That's kind of tricky with styrofoam, but the wagon part I think would be easy. I actually even think the covered part would be easy. Like I say, you take the styrofoam, you know, cut it thin. That could make a pretty good covered wagon. And I bet you doing the tinfoil texture on it, painted up right, could look like fabric. I think the tricky part there is the wheels. Wheels are hard no matter what you build them out of. Styrofoam wheels is even trickier, but I'm gonna do it. I'll do it. I'd love to see a styro casket crypt build. Okay, so the crypt, basically it's just styrofoam building like these ones. I will do that because I could use one. Styrofoam casket, I have one. I've done that. Two sessions ago, my players came across this casket that was in a cemetery. They slid the top off, and staircase descended below where they found a wraith who was. It's a long story, anyway, but it doesn't matter. I made this casket, like, I mean, out of styrofoam. Like, all it is I cut a square. I used the scroll table. And I just cut the square, carved in something, like it's there, it's done, man. Casket's easy. So I was asked, what you drinking? Well, I'm sure you've seen by now that I said the Kilkenny. How about this? I was going to talk about the farm stuff. It's okay, it's actually, it's kind of interesting. But we want to see a casket. I can make one right now. We're gonna make a casket. Okay, let me just grab something here. Okay. Now I realize not everybody owns one of these, but you should. They're pretty cheap, actually. Stocks, gallows, and crow cages would be interesting. The stocks and gallows, I think, absolutely would be the perfect thing to build out of styrofoam using the timber technique. The crow's cage, basically what I would do is build a bigger version of this, and the actual cage, I'm not going to make a cage out of styrofoam. Like, what are you, crazy? But you could make the thing holding it. So let's build a casket. So you gotta start with some styrofoam. Try to get this so you guys can see it. Hold on, let me readjust here just to try to get everything on screen. Or maybe I can turn this. Can you see it better this way? Okay. All right. So, casket, styrofoam. One thing about these scroll tables with the Craft power supply that they sell, it cuts through foam core really well. Once you get into 1/2 inch thick styrofoam, they start to struggle. So you should probably buy the bigger power supply. So right here, just freehanding this. Probably would want to actually draw this first, but I'm a rebel. Okay, that's a pretty crappy shape. Let's try something else here. You guys might own these because everybody shops at the same store in the crafting community. Michael's, the Halloween town or whatever it is, coffins. Just because I'm too lazy to figure out the shape by myself, and apparently I can't freehand it. We're going to trace this out. Now, I promise you I'm not just going to cut out a coffin shape of the styrofoam because that's not that interesting. I'm going to try to make it have a functioning lid because that's the real challenge. Okay, so now we got a shape that's not ridiculous. We'll try to go a little bit slower. Sorry for the silence. Got to concentrate here. It's really hard to freehand straight cuts with this thing because the wire actually tends to move on you when the styrofoam is too thick. The wire cools, which doesn't allow it to move freely, and then it starts to bend. So. Okay, so now, there we go. One styrofoam coffin based off this cast one. But we want a lid. So we're going to turn it on its side. Boom. Now we have a lid. So, what good is a coffin that opens and is solid? This has to be hollow. That part's tricky. So, we're going to grab another tool here. Now, I don't actually know if this will work. I've never tried this. Got the sculpting or engraving tool. This one actually takes a bit longer to warm up, so I gotta let it sit for a bit. Now you could do this up like a wood texture, but the scroll table gave it this kind of, it kind of looks like stone. So I think we're gonna go with this being like a stone kind of sarcophagus thing. So this could totally bork the whole thing right here. But my idea is I want to hollow it out with this. So we'll see if it works. We want to leave a bit of a border. Follow the profile. Alternatively, you could just cut out this whole middle section and just put something on the bottom to fill it in, but I kind of wanted to challenge myself here to something a little bit different. So now we just burn away that material. It's a little bit messy, but I think one thing about these tools is, much like the hot glue, you get a lot of wisps, and they're just as annoying as the hot wisps from the glue gun. But this seems to be working pretty darn good. Could probably put some acetone or nail polish on there too, just like I did with the water effect video, but you can't really control that. So I'm not sold on this being the best way to do this, but it's certainly working, and it's making it strong while removing material. If you just cut it out, you'd really weaken this tiny piece of styrofoam, whereas this is kind of cauterizing and making it strong, which is a pretty impressive thing to do when you're making it thinner. I don't know. I think that serves its purpose. Heat up an X-Acto knife. Yeah, if you don't have a hot wire cutter, you could absolutely do an X-Acto knife heated up. So now, since we're making this kind of stone, this all has a nice kind of texture from the hot wire, but the top is really smooth. So we're going to take this tin foil and roll it over. I'm assuming the video quality is not good enough for you to be able to see. Let me see if this, can you guys, oh, it doesn't let me, no, this, yeah, whatever. Has a nice stone texture. Then you could do some kind of like this. We're just going to keep simple. We're just going to do a nice rip, classic gothic horror style. Hey, we were talked about magic cards briefly. We're back to Innistrad, which I'm super pumped about because my homebrew game that I'm running is basically set in Innistrad. So, and I have lots of new kind of material to steal from. I basically have a whole world that follows the same kind of mythos of what is it? Avacyn. Except like it renamed everything, but basically in my world there's this whole story about this demon that's been locked up in the Hell Vault and all that stuff. So returning to Innistrad is pretty exciting. It's gonna give me more stuff to steal. So anyways, now we got a nice little thing carved in there. Take your nail file, kind of hit the edges, break them so they don't look so machined. You can do the same here. I don't know if it needs it, but you could add a bit of texture to this. Now, I just wish there was a way that I could paint this in time. Well, I don't know, maybe if I quickly brush on some black NPC Sorin, not yet. I think that'd be a bit too much for my players, but they're getting up there. They're level 5 now, so we might bring in someone like that. Basically, my players spent, I don't know, what was it, 8 or 9 sessions. The campaign started off them in their hometown, awoken in the middle of the night because 5 children from the town had gone missing, all the kids of prominent members of the town. And they woke up, and on the buildings they were stolen from, there was the symbol of Pazimit drawn on the doors. And Pazimit is like the mythic demon that once ruled the land, that my Avacyn... Basically, if you follow Magic, Griselbrand and Avacyn in my story is Pazimit and Inora, right? So anyways, they realized that these kids had been stolen, kidnapped or whatever, and they went out to rescue them, which could be a one-night deal. You rescue the kids, you bring them home, you're the heroes, you move on to your next adventure. This whole thing got drawn out over 8 or 9 sessions. Like, it was a ridiculous thing. They rescued the kids. After 3 sessions, this treacherous journey, all this crap, brought them home, and it turns out they weren't the real kids. They were like possessed effigies representing the kids that then turned on their parents and killed them, and they had to kill the kids. It was crazy. And then they had to go back out and rescue the kids for real again. And they rescued those kids. They were on session 7 or 8. They're way far from home. The quickest way home is on a boat. That's why I built a boat. So they set sail on this boat and they go, and it is destroyed by a giant octopus, and it's shipwrecked. In the shipwreck, 3 of the kids gone. There's 2 brothers left in the water, and the sharks started circling. My players failed to save one of them from the sharks, and they watched him die. So after several sessions rescuing these kids, they are now stranded on an island with the 1 remaining kid left. Shit's serious. What do you use? D&D? I'm playing 5th edition right now. Maybe you guys already know this, but I'm a super noob to D&D. Played it a little bit when I was young in elementary school, not knowing what I was doing. But we decided to start playing. So we picked up 5th edition and jumped right into that. So I've actually only been playing D&D proper for about the past year. And of course, what did I do? I didn't just start playing this game. I decided to start playing the game, decided to be the DM, decided to homebrew my campaign while learning to DM, and I decided to craft sick-ass terrain for the game, and that wasn't enough of a burden, so I decided to make a channel. I don't know what the hell's wrong with me, man. That's like unnecessary work. We could just like be playing a fucking module, learning the game, but no. We're going balls deep. But you know what? 5th edition, I will say, I can only judge it as a new player, but as a new player coming in, it's very simple, straightforward, things make sense. I'm the type of DM that, both because I'm new and because I like to do my own thing, I like to improvise rules, and I have found that 5e seems to be designed to, oh man, I gotta paint up here. It's like I usually work further back, but the camera's there. So, but anyway, I have found that D&D 5e seems to be designed to allow you to improvise and make stuff up as you go. And I really appreciate that as a player and as a DM. Okay, so I wish I had a blow dryer here so that I could make this dry really fast so that we could paint it up. Because you wanted to see a casket, I'm going to give you as much of a casket as I can in the time. The kids are kissing a girl. Yeah, Pathfinder, I mean, I've never played it, so I can't really comment on it. My understanding is that it's basically the continuation of good D&D, getting rid of all the fuck-ups that the Wizards did on 4th edition. But my understanding is that 5e, they kind of fixed some of that too, so are you guys in the room? Josh, Bungwires, Crafting Panda. Hi, the Crafting Panda. How do you craft with those little adorable paws? Are you guys all DMing your games and crafting for them? Or are you guys players? You just like crafting? What's your deal? Because I've always been amazed on the Scotty's Facebook group by the amount of people that seem to just be players and are crafting for the games they play in, which I don't really understand how that works. It's like your DM's like, yeah, next week you guys are going to be in a crypt and there's going to be this trap, so you have to craft it for me. But then you know what's up. I don't really get how that works. Yeah, you crafting DM share duties, that's cool. I would like it if I could share some of these duties with people, but getting 5 adults with families and careers to show up every 2 weeks, that's about all I can ask for from them. Player, DM, sometimes crafter. Cool, man. Cool, Baron. Wife helps. Well, that's nice. My wife helps by allowing me to hang out in here in the evening and make stuff while she's in bed. So like man, I don't know if any of you got kids, but I have my first kid. She's 16 months old, and that was a big life adjustment in terms of hobby time. But I have found that the time between 8:30 p.m. and midnight to be like the golden time. The kid's asleep, I can have a beer, I can craft. Yeah, problem with shares, quality of craft suffers. Like, you just mean like when different people are involved in the crafting, it's not quality. Like, I know I'd have a hard time with that. Like, I'm a control freak. I don't think that I would want to share the actual crafting duties. Work schedule keeps me from playing much these days, so it's more of just a hobby than anything anymore. Yeah, I get that. You know what? I'm pretty sure that if I wasn't DMing and playing my game, I would still be building little styrofoam houses. I might not build all like the tiles and specific props, but I definitely build the stuff like the houses for the enjoyment of building them, and then I use them in the game. My game does not need a whole bunch of hyper detailed styrofoam houses. It really doesn't. It could just be tilescapes. That'd be it. It could be a cardboard box. It could just be a tile. But I really like building them, so I think I would do that even if I wasn't playing. DM for my group since 2nd edition. That's sweet. Same group for all that time, you got a good group of friends then. Mad respect for keeping your friends that long and keeping a consistent game. That's hard to do. When I decide what I'm going to run, I'll start crafting terrain. Word of advice, just start crafting terrain and have it ready. Because if you get into a routine like me, where you're playing every 2 weeks and your players like mine now have this high expectation that the table is going to be dressed with all this cool stuff. So it's like we play a game, and as soon as the game's over, the clock starts ticking down 2 weeks with only one weekend in between to craft, and I got to make all the stuff for next session. So if you can get a head start on it, just do it. There's so much stuff that is like general purpose, like just tiles, bushes, stones, rubble. Just make that stuff ahead of time. Get into it. Don't let not having a group or a game started stop you from making that, because it'll make it so much easier when you start. You'll be prepped with like your base kind of like terrain, and then as you decide on your campaign or your module, whatever, you can craft the specific stuff and you're not panicking. So don't let it hold you back. Same group since 95. Man, that's crazy. I mean, I have friends that I've kept that long for music. Like, I'm a musician, and like people from that scene and stuff have kept that long, but I don't know if I could keep a consistent group who hang out all the time and commit to playing for that long. That's a lot of respect for that. Just doing store building fronts. Yep, the fronts work well. You guys have seen the video on my shelves. The top row is all Tilescape stuff. I did that stuff first, and it's really effective. And I probably will build some more in the future. Just right now, I'm super into the 3D buildings. It's in second edition. Last 10 years with the same core group. Yeah, that's really cool. I make the whole adventure pass/module chapter at a time. Yeah, see, I think that is the best thing as a crafter about modules, is that in 3 sessions from now, you have an idea of where your group will be. So you can craft ahead of time. It's like you're all crafted up and you got a night of crafting time available. What do you make? You can just open the module and go, you know what, in a couple weeks they're going to be having the showdown at the shrine to whatever, and you can make that and it's ready. I'm finding that with my homebrew, I'm making up the story as I go along. Like, I have these like vague ideas of like overarching kind of stories and stuff, but basically my players play a session that I've planned. Depending how that works out, I spend the next week or so deciding what the next session is, like even in very general terms. And so in those 2 weeks between sessions, I'm writing the campaign and then building terrain as well. And it's hard, man. It's really difficult, especially when you're trying to do really top tier stuff. Like, I see the advantage in like stuff Scotty does, where just simple cardboard, sponge paint looks awesome on the table. But for some reason, I'm finding the longer I do this, the more it needs to, in my mind, not just look good on the table, but look good on the shelf after it's been used on the table. So that makes it a lot harder. But anyway, where am I going with this? Is that's the cool thing about modules. And what I've started to do is I've started to kind of tailor my campaign in such a way that I can pull little mini modules from DriveThruRPG and just drop them. The last 2 sessions I played were actually modules that I just like reskinned and kind of fit into my campaign, and that took a lot of the burden of planning, and it allowed me to really focus on crafting and prepping just for how to run the game, right? Like, if you have the module, you can take some time thinking about how it's actually going to play out on the table. So that's been good. I think next session, I think I'm gonna run the Absolute Tabletop Sewers Under Sandwall, reskinned, fitting into my game. It actually totally works because like my players have been shipwrecked on an island. They've been traveling. They found the hag's hut. They got messed with. But finally, they're going to lead to a town on the coast. This was my original plan. They're going to lead to a town, and there's going to be a boat home somehow, and there's going to be city encounters. That's what I thought of. And then I started reading the Sewers Under Sandwall, and I realized that would work perfectly. It's a fishing town. There's boats there. It's perfect. So we can spend a few sessions in there. So I'm just in the middle of reading the module, and then I'm going to start working on stuff. So what do you guys got to say? We will suck and bonk shit up all the time. Fun. Yep. My high school group never broke up. Just take long vacations, and when the stars are right, boom, magic. Yeah, that's cool too. You know, you don't have it all the time, but you have a group that when you guys can get together, you can get right down to gameplay, and it's awesome because you guys all know how you guys jive together. So that's cool. I'm a musician, also DMing seems like a natural fit. Absolutely. And that's another secret about Black Magic Craft. Little personal information. I'm a longtime musician, and it was a big part of my life, and I was fairly successful at it. Toured around the world, played shows, released lots of albums on various record labels. Did well. It was great. Like fine niche genre music, big fish, small pond kind of thing. I burned out. On the last album I released, which I decided to break ties with record labels and self-release, the promotion end of things, the managing, the merchandise sales, it was too much. And I burned out. It was all successful, but I just couldn't handle it anymore. And I actually 2 years ago decided I needed to take a break from music and from music management and just kind of enjoy life a little bit. And that's when D&D happened. I picked up D&D, we started playing. But while it's important that I took this break from music in the management, I found this like kind of void personally of fan interaction, of creating something and then having the world see it, and you kind of get addicted to that as a musician. Like you definitely get addicted to, I don't want to say to praise, but just towards seeing people consume your creative product and interacting with them. So that's how the channel started. Like the crafting kind of filled that void of creativity for me and was a nice alternative. But the channel actually, and stuff like this, like hanging out with you guys, it feeds that need of like interaction with a community. And I'll tell you, man, being involved in many other hobby communities and things like music, this crafting community and especially the Facebook group that Scotty started is such a positive, strong, awesome community. Like everybody is so supportive. Doesn't seem to be a lot of bullshit, a lot of like politics or negativity. It's really good. So anyway, that's the backstory of how Black Magic Craft was founded. Our deal is we play every Monday, alternating campaigns every other week. That's cool. So you get to play every week, but I'm assuming then if you're alternating campaigns, is it also 2 different DMs so that each DM has a 2-week interval and then the next week is a player? Because I think that's actually a good way to do it. It's functional art, absolutely. Is the paint dry? Not really. I need a drying box, but it's not dry enough to dry brush, but it is dry enough to put a coat of gray on. I burned out in the studio myself. Yep. It'll happen, man. Gray. What do I got here? Oh, that's the wrong one. Who uses gray when you want dark gray? What a goof. So I'm just going to brush on some gray here so that you guys can kind of see what this thing looks like. I'm not gonna, normally you'd paint the inside of this thing. I'm not going to because the inside is still pretty wet. Well, maybe I will after. But yeah, too much black still. Black is not dry. I don't think I'm gonna get to dry brush this today. You know what I need? I need, if I'm gonna do live stream crafting and I wanna actually complete things start to finish like this for you, I gotta make a drying box or I gotta get a blow dryer. I gotta steal the wife's blow dryer. Two different DMs, two different games, so that way one person isn't always stuck as the DM. We get to play. Yeah, that's a really good idea. That's kind of how the setup is for us, except that I don't play in the alternating games. Like one of my players on the alternating week, he DMs, but I don't play in that game. I should. I don't know why I don't, but I don't. But so he gets to do a game every week. The problem I find with that is if for some reason my game has to get postponed, like if we can't do it that week, we can't just shift it to the next weekend because that's his game, right? So then we have to wait until the rotation continues all the way around, which means that it ends up being 4 weeks between games, which kind of sucks. So trying to move away from that. I used to postpone games if people couldn't make it because I didn't want them to miss out on the story and stuff. Like, you know, if they couldn't make it for valid reasons. But now I think I have it set up where it's more mini adventures each game. So we've played a few sessions without players on hand, and it's been fine. And I'm going to try to continue that way. Any particular brand of paint? Kind of. Basically, all my paint is this Craftsmart stuff from Michaels. Why? Because it's the cheapest one. And I found that for painting terrain, it doesn't really matter. Also, like for metallics, have the full cart stuff. And the only... Oh, that one's also Craftsmart. That's just a different Craftsmart. But yeah, it's all Craftsmart. My black is Apple Barrel. Normally it would be Craftsmart, but I was out of black and I was at Walmart and I needed black that day, and that's what they carry. So, but I don't know. I didn't really see the advantage in spending a bit more money on the full cart stuff for acrylic paint, so I just used that. So, in your DM, have you adopted any of Hank's techniques? All the time. Like, I don't think I could be a DM if it wasn't for Hank's videos. For example, like he had, what was it? He did one video about wolves that were constantly spawning and coming at the players who were up on a rock cliff, and it just never ended. And the players then had to figure out a way to get away or stop it because the wolves would just keep coming. And in one of my sessions, I ran that exact same technique. They were in this crazy crypt, which I try to keep this short, but basically it was an old city of what used to be werewolves. But anyway, one of these rooms, these wolves just kept coming at them. It was like a 12 by 12 tile with pillars, and these wolves kept coming. They eventually realized that the wolves were coming from a hole in the floor. Like there was a den underneath that they just kept coming from. Eventually, with death looming, one of the players saw there was a collapsed pillar. This was the out that I provided for them. There were some collapsed pillars and a hole in the floor. So they levitated this pillar and hovered it over the hole of the wolves, and boom, dropped and sealed up the hole. So yeah, that was one of, like, I guess it would be one of his Hank's techniques, but it was like his whole ideas for a night of gameplay. But there's lots of things. His D4 suspense countdown die. I don't use that as much as I should, but I try to use it often. I've used it when there was a farm encounter. There was a farm with some quasits that were attacking it, and there was fires burning on the piles of hay around the farm. And the D4 was how many rounds until that fire jumped from hay pile to hay pile onto the roof of the farmhouse with women and kids inside. When my players were on the ship fighting all the tentacles, that D4 die was the countdown until the ship was smashed. I didn't roll that one. I picked the number ahead of time because I tried to figure it out so that while it would be very, very difficult for the players to defeat the octopus and come out in a full ship, it was possible. I wanted a possibility of success, although unlikely. So I picked the countdown, but still the suspense dice was there with a number. They didn't know that I picked it ahead of time. So yeah, I use Hank stuff all the time. Hey, Scotty. Hello, nice to see you. But yeah, I mean, Hank's techniques of DMing I use all the time. And of course, all the crafting channels, Scotty, I use their techniques all the time too. And I just try to make it my own. So cheap is good. That's right, Scotty. Cheap is absolutely good. I had to shift to an episodic format for my games, kind of like the first few seasons of the X-Files, where each episode is basically standalone so players can miss. That is absolutely what I did in my game. I had this big, like I said, like 9 sessions of this one adventure that was like, had twists and turns, and everybody had to follow the story really closely. And so if a player couldn't make it, I mean, I have good players. They don't bail. So far, every time someone's missed, it's been for a really good reason. Like my wife missed some games because she was really ill. Like not the cold, but she got really sick and she couldn't play, so we postponed games. One player's father-in-law passed away, so he missed. And you know what? I didn't feel it was right to punish people for missing, and I didn't want them to miss on the story for these very valid reasons for missing the game. So we would postpone, and then there'd be a long lag in the game. So I decided to shift things into more of an episodic kind of thing. And the last couple of sessions we've done that. And the last couple of sessions people had to miss. There was one person missing from each of my last 2 sessions, but because they were self-contained little adventures, they missed out on fun, but they didn't miss out on really important story. Also, let me know what you guys think about this. We have a set of 5 adventurers. They are on an island together. It's not like they're in their home and 4 of them can go out and do something because one is off doing something else to justify the player missing. In my current setup, they are on an island traveling together. And while each adventure was kind of self-contained start to finish for one session, that player character had to physically be there for it to make sense. So what we decided to do is one session my wife had missed, and she plays a Sheena the Barbarian. Her player, or her character is, I don't want to say one-dimensional because she has some role-playing, like some character stuff that is interesting, but in how she interacts in combat and stuff is pretty straightforward. So when she was missing, I wanted to have her player character in the game, so I decided to play her character for her. I avoided any kind of, risky role playing or whatever. But I did her attacks and stuff so that the party still had the advantages of her in combat, and that worked well, and everyone was fine with it. Last session, one of my players couldn't make it, and he plays a cleric, Awar. He's the dude that in a lot of my photos and videos you'll see a little Viking looking dude, the paper mini. That's Awar. He is our cleric. He's also a lycanthrope. Yeah, that happened with the wolves. But anyway, we had to keep his player going. His character has a lot of depth to it. And what we decided to do as a group was we would collectively play his character. Like basically, when a situation came up where Awar would have to do something, we as a group, DM and players decided how Awar probably would have reacted. And I kind of let them decide with me having the ability to just say no, like that doesn't, like if you can't make him do something out of character. And together as a group, we played him, and I think it worked really well. It also allows them to keep the XP and all that. So, what do you guys do when a player is missing? Do you just have their character not be involved that day? Do you play them? What's your idea? Let me catch up here. D4 equals win. That's right. My wife has a barbarian too. Wilhelmina? Sheena and Wilhelmina. Well, yeah. My wife is a new player, and so the barbarian kind of works well for her. Mostly because there's no spell casting, so she can figure out how like the attack rolls and all that work. But she's created a pretty interesting character. Like she's not like this bloodthirsty, stupid barbarian. She is like a super high dex, sneaky 6'5" beast who can like sneak. It's really interesting. And there's been some recurring gags and tropes that happen with her character. And yeah, she's not DM Scotty. Yeah, 5e. I am absolutely playing 5e. Okay, Scotty, you missed it. In case you're wondering what's going on here, I presented a challenge to the viewers, or challenge to myself. We were talking about styrofoam houses and building different things out of styrofoam, and I said, "What do you want me to build?" Like in a tutorial out of styrofoam. I can make it out of styrofoam, I guarantee you. And there were some good answers, some stuff that would take some time, but someone said a casket. So I said, well, hell, let's make it right now. So we got casket carved out with the hot wire tools, black paint on it, and a coat of gray. It's not drying really fast. I need a blow dryer, but yeah, that's what this is. We're making this little styrofoam opening casket. Bung wires. We've done a couple adventures where absent PCs are just in jail or abducted. That works. I mean, the way I justified it in the past was that the character was ill. Once they had to stay in town to recover, and once they were ill, so they were just kind of keeping their distance while everybody else did the fighting. Sometimes we have someone drive the character so they can still gain XP. Yeah. So okay, so that we're not the only ones who tried that. My group has 9 in it, so 1 or 2 missing is not a problem. I just have them guard the way back, etc. I just have them. Yeah, you know what? That's perfect. Like if you have a group that large, 2 people missing isn't going to make encounters that you planned too difficult or whatever. So yeah, somebody's just watching camp or keeping an eye behind them. That works perfect. If someone's missing, I do personal character story time. No adventuring, or we just play Magic. Yeah, just play Magic. There's been a few times when I've canceled the night because too many people were missing, or just because it was at a point in the story where I didn't want to have anyone missing, and that turns into me and one of my buddies playing Magic because I don't have as much time for Magic as I used to, and I miss it, and I can't go down to the shop and draft, which makes me really sad. So we just play some Commander. Yeah, I don't know how you control 9 people. Like, I mean, a round would take a really long time. Okay, this is my question, Joshua Morris. You didn't have 9. Who had 9? Tobias, Patrick, you got 9 players. If they're all there and you're in combat, from the time player 1 takes his turn all the way around, do you find that everyone's losing interest, waiting for their turn? Like, I know, like, turn economy, people obviously have more fun on their turn than anyone else's. Or is your group just like super, like a really well-tuned group that plays off each other really well and is really interested in what each other's doing? I want to know, how do you control that? Because I got 5 players, and it's okay, it's manageable, it's pretty good. But I will say that the nights when one person's missing, having 4 creates a dynamic that's just a little bit more perfect because things move a little bit more fluidly. Also, 2 PCs are brother and sister. If one of them is absent, the other picks up the pieces. Yeah, that makes sense. It's a good in-game kind of fix for things. Munchkin is our backup plan. I've never played Munchkin, but that's basically like the Magic backup plan. Just play a different game. We try to keep all sheets in the house we game in so they don't miss out on XP and treasure if they can make it. The great thing about playing with the group for a long time, we know each other's playstyles well enough. Yeah, I mean, knowing each other's playstyles and knowing their characters well enough to make decisions based on them is really helpful. Keeping the player sheets on hand is also helpful. That's a rule I'm going to start enforcing. Half of my players leave their sheets and the other half takes them, and I think the other half has to start leaving them for that situation. Okay, so this, we are coffin here. It's probably dry enough to dry brush, but not dry brush well. But for the sake of this little experiment here, we are going to try dry brushing it. You would want to let this thing dry out much more for a real craft. Yeah, you can already tell it's pulling. But I want to have this finished for you guys because I think it's pretty neat. Maybe that'll be the theme of some of these streams moving forward. You know, sometimes I'll have something I want to do, but if I don't have something that I'm working on for my self-plan, maybe that's what we do. It is viewer's choice. Pick a project within reason that can be done in one sitting, and we improvise it live. Because I like working under pressure. As a contractor and a veteran stage musician, you learn to work well under pressure. And I think that's why my crafting is successful, is because when I have a deadline of next game is in 2 weeks, you got to have it all done, I do it. When we have a break and I got 4 or 5 weeks in between for some reason, I don't get my crafting done. Not a chance. The pressure, it helps. Okay, so we got a little dry brush on here. It's all right. It's not as good as if you let it dry out completely between coats. And here we have our live made viewer's choice styrofoam coffin. If this was a real craft for a game, I'd let this dry out and I'd give it a wash, the black wash, to really get into the crevices. You know what I like about this though? Because when I cut this on the scroll table, so you can see here, it's not a perfectly straight cut, but it lines up so nice. Like, this actually interlocks perfectly, and it kind of makes it look like it was carved out of one big piece of stone. So, not too shabby. Okay, let me catch up on what you guys have to say. So Tobias, to answer my question, says it's not easy. The hardest part is keeping everyone involved. Yeah, that's what I would expect. They are a good group. They're mature and stand focused. I'm fairly animated DM, so that helps. I think it probably helps if your players are also kind of animated. If when it's their turn, there's I attack, I stab them. People are going to get bored. But if all your players are acting like DMs, like they're really being thematic and descriptive about what they're doing, I'm assuming that keeps the other players more interested. And if it's a group of players who've been doing it for a long time, I assume that they're probably pretty good at that. I offered to break the group up, but they did not want to. You know what? Yeah, if you got 9 players and you offer to separate them into two groups to keep things more streamlined, and they want to play together, then you're doing something right. Your group is doing something right, and that's awesome, man. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Maybe I'm crazy, but I love that sound, dry brushing foam. 100% agree. Another personal thing, I don't know how many of you are familiar with ASMR, but for the people that are familiar with it, that's a thing for me. And yeah, dry brushing, that's one of those things. And that's a weird part of YouTube, ASMR videos, but it's a good part of YouTube. DM, Scotty, same way, pressure is good, absolutely. Okay, Scotty, I got a question for you, since I have you on the line. You make so much stuff, and you must have so much stuff on hand. I see you just released another cave tiles video out of the floor mats, and that's awesome. But what I thought watching that video was, Scotty surely has a whole, like several containers full of various cave tiles and doorways, but he's making them again. So are you making them again out of new materials for the sake of the channel? Or are you just always looking to improve your own stuff? Or is it just that, like me, you don't necessarily want to keep rehashing? We make all this stuff reusable and modular, but the crafter always wants to use new stuff. So what's the short answer of why you keep remaking some of the same things? Is it just for the thrill of the craft? Is it for the channel? I gotta know, because you must have tiles for days. Samus, with modern technology, there's not much reason for people not to leave their sheets with the GM. They can take a photo, their phone camera. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a weird personal thing for a couple of players where they take them. However, I have one player, speaking of modern technology, he has no physical character sheet. He does a PDF on a tablet, which is weird because for me personally, the paper and the pencil is like an aesthetic that's part of the game. But he likes having it on there. He missed last session, and I texted him. I'm like, I wish I had your character sheet so we could run your character. And I mean, luckily he emailed it to me and I printed it out and we did it, so it was fine. Scotty takes on his ultimate crafter form before my games. Absolutely. We all know what that's all about. The last night where everything's just sprayed out and crazy. You got tomorrow's game night and you're crafting, you're painting, and you're like, I gotta get this last dry brush on, gotta get this wash on, and you do it, and you go, oh, you look around and you've completed all the stuff that you never thought you'd be able to get done in time for your game tomorrow. And you look at your clock. It's only 11 p.m. I could stay up for another hour. And you just make more. You get the stuff done that you didn't think you'd be able to do. And what do? Do you relax? Do you go watch a movie, go watch Netflix? Nope, you make more. Because you know what? I already made the building, and I made the tables, and I made all this other stuff, but I should probably make a little pot for the wood stove, just that no one's ever going to notice, but just because. That's how we roll, crafters. the burning you did to remove the inside really added into the stonework effect. Absolutely. I mean, it's really wet still in there and goopy, but I think that looks pretty cool. Um, I'm bad at moving things and looking at the camera. Um, yeah, I think that worked really well. With in case anyone missed it, um, we carved out the basic shape with the scroll table, but absolutely you could do this with a knife. I mean, like, no question you could do this with a knife. I just did it because I have a scroll table. But the inside, to remove the material from the inside of this thing while keeping it strong, just burnt it down with the engraver. And yeah, it left this really kind of gnarly kind of texture to it. It looks like somebody actually chiseled it out. And what I think would be cool, if you made up a whole bunch of these, you could make one with like some water effects or hot glue and goo and blood, and you could make it look like a decomposing corpse in there, so that like when someone opens it up hoping to find some sweet like gold jewelry, they find like this rotting stench that they have to make constitution saves on. So yeah, you could do that. You're asking me to give us some examples of your DM NPC voices. I'm sorry to disappoint. I am not a big voice actor. I maybe do like more voices when I've like near the end of the night when I've been drinking. But I will say that my group is not a really theatrical group. Maybe we will be in time, but we tend to do a lot of third person descriptions. You know, rather than me, if I'm like the mayor of the town talking to someone, I will not talk as the mayor, just word for word what he says. A lot of time there's a lot of shortcuts of, you know, the mayor describes to you this trouble that he's been having, and he's talking in a way that makes him seem kind of nervous rather than actually doing that. One, it's like a comfort thing for the group. Not everybody wants to role play. People are new, and there's kind of this weird thing if like one person's really heavily role playing and one's not. So we find this balance of kind of like third person descriptions. People are very descriptive in what they do and very narrative, which is good. But the voices don't come up too much, except when someone gets really into it, and it kind of makes it seem all the better when it does kind of break up. Okay, what? The coolest player we had in my old group was a priest, a Catholic priest. He played a good paladin. Well, like I was saying, talking about our cleric Awar, he is a righteous cleric to the god. He worships the god Thor. Excuse me. And he got bitten by a werewolf, and I added a mechanic in the game of if someone's infected, they can either fight the curse or embrace it. He decided to embrace it, and basically the way it's working is that every time we enter initiative, he has to do a curse roll. D6 roll before anybody takes their turn. On a 1, he turned into a werewolf. He can't control it, and if he turns into a werewolf, he takes on the statistics of the werewolf, but he also attacks the closest creature to him because he is a untrained, uncontrolled, wild werewolf that's just blood crazy. So if he rolls a 1, he turns into a werewolf and he attacks whoever's near, friend or foe. Basically, I have it set up so I think it's after, we're tracking it after 20 rolls, no matter the outcome, but after 20 curse rolls, he gains control of that. Like, he's transformed enough, he's suppressed. Like, every time he rolls well and doesn't turn, in game, it's basically like he's felt this urge, but he's able to suppress it. So after 20 of these, which should be coming up soon, actually, in the game, then he has full control over it, and he is this righteous cleric who is also a werewolf. So Scotty, I think to answer my question, says, I've updated my style and I really like the modular aspect. That's super cool. Underwood. Oh, okay. Yeah, Scott Underwood. Yeah, absolutely. Dice rollers will never replace dice. I'm not sure what that's in reference to, but yes. I don't think so. Like, if we're talking about technology and stuff, it's like I think that a tablet, an e-reader or whatever can replace your character sheet. But yeah, absolutely, dice rollers, they gotta roll dice. The whole point. Main aspect is playability. Absolutely. So, Scotty, are you just always trying to improve the playability? I get that. I think that's probably what it is. It's like you make some stuff, it's playable, it's cool, but you're always thinking of ways that it could improve visually, but more importantly, improve the playability. Scott's priest was an Irish priest too, so he had a fouler mouth than the rest of us. I like that. I mean, that's classic. The old Irish asshole priest. Ooh. Farm stuff. Sorry, Joshua. I got sidetracked. I mean, that's good. I mean, we had stuff going here. Okay, I'm gonna grab some farm stuff. Okay. So let's move some stuff. All right, now this top-down camera is actually doing something useful. So we got a few things here from the farm. This was several sessions ago. Players came out of a mine. The first place they found was a farmhouse under siege from Quasits. So basically we had a farmhouse here. This is, it's basically a building. This one's cardboard. This is before I started doing the foam core stuff. Simple cardboard structure. The sides have two little strips of foam core that are carved like stone, and then everything else, these are coffee stir sticks to do all the wood, but I kind of like carved them up a little. I don't know if you can see here, to give it some shape, because like I've said before, sometimes, man, craft sticks look like craft sticks, so you got to do some work to make them look like actual timbers. Basically, I just hot glue everything on, and then I left some exposed cardboard. And to do the stucco, we just used white glue and play sand, and then dry brushed. It's got a little chimney. This chimney is made out of pink foam insulation. What I did was I cut something like this, carved out the edges, made it more round, sanded it, and then burnt out. Actually, I don't remember how I did the hole in it because I didn't have the hot wire tools yet. So I probably just, with a small X-Acto knife, carved something out. So that's basically the little kind of Viking style farmhouse, which I really like. And you know what, with the sand on it, it's got some nice weight to it. You know, it feels good to put down on the table. Cyrus, I know you from such streams as Drunken and Dragons, Black Magic. Great to see you live stream. It's awesome seeing how you, Scotty, and Hank play off each other's creativity. Much appreciated. Absolutely. That's the best thing about this community. We're all playing off each other, and Scotty's Facebook group is the heart of it all, man. I don't think there's a crafter out there or a channel out there that is not inspired by many people from the Facebook group. It's the best place. It brightens my day several times a day. I absolutely love it. Okay, Scotty, you're out. I really appreciate having you. Good to see you. Have a good night. Okay, so let's continue on this farm stuff. So these little haystacks, as well as this field here, I wanted a way to do hay And what I came up with was, you know, those cheap bristled brushes that you buy in like a pack of like 20, basically the ones you put on some like oil-based stuff and you throw them away. I took a bunch of those and I dipped the bristles in, like to get these, I dipped the bristles in a watered down PVA, and then I stood them up, like I put them in like my bench vise or whatever, clamped them something, and then I took a popsicle stick and kind of put it between the bristles, like, how do I describe this? Imagine this is a bigger, shittier brush. Basically dip the bristles in glue, and then I separated them with a popsicle stick as they dried. And then once it was dry, I cut that off. And then I was left with these like really hard, nice, separate things that I could use for tall grass or hay. And then like for this, basically I just took like a bunch of them and clumped them together and let them dry like that. And then I took one band and wrapped it around, glued it to a base, added a little bit of flocking. Same with here, like this little pig pen, this hay, it's just bristles from really cheap brush, like man. And actually how that happened was when I did my cave tiles, I had to spread the glue on the styrofoam for the sand. And afterwards, I was left with this brush that was covered in glue that needed to be washed out, but wasn't really worth, I mean, the cost of the brush, it wasn't worth my time to wash it out. So I just left it sitting on my desk, came back, and I was like, man, that's hay. That's some excellent hay. So that's a good thing to do with cheap brushes. If you can mix it into doing it at the same time as when you have to spread some glue, you might kill two birds with one stone. But yeah, basically the actual playable field, playable crops. I believe in one of my videos, I don't remember which one, I think it might have been the spider eggs one, I talked about using these samples from Formica countertops that you can get from hardware store or whatever. I get a lot of them just left over from work. It's basically, it's just one of those samples that I took. I took some hot glue and made some stripes that are kind of like the mounds of dirt. And then glue, play sand, let that dry, painted it brown, dry brushed it a little bit, and then individually painted a few stones gray to make it look like some rocks in the field. And then I glued down the paintbrush bristles in a line like hay. I took some white lichen, you know, like the lichen you buy from Michael's in the bag for cheap, to represent, I don't know, some kind of like bushy vegetables, a few pieces of hay sticking up. Yeah, paintbrush hay. Shitty Walmart brushes become wheat. Absolutely, that's exactly. Kleber Brito, I'm watching here from Brazil. Awesome. Cheers from Canada to Brazil and wherever else you guys are from. And then, also with the bristles, we made a little wagon here. This wagon is just made out of craft sticks and buttons. But I wanted like a bushel of like, you know, some hay. So this is again just the paintbrush stuff. I glued it to a little piece of tongue depressor, like the wide popsicle stick. Now I got a nice pile of bushels of hay that can sit beside the house, right? Or it can sit in a wagon, whatever. It's perfect, it's easy, it's cheap, it's really cheap. I think also you can see here, these ones are just the bristles with glue, no paint. These ones and these bushels I painted, did a little bit of yellow dry brushing, which I think is actually the way to go. I probably should have painted these ones too. And then this is just a little pig pen. Again, the Formica sample, but you could use plastic card or something. You could use cardboard, but cardboard is going to warp with stuff like this. Hot glue, mud texture, little fence made out of craft sticks. But here's what I'm talking about. Don't let your popsicle sticks look like popsicle sticks. I'm telling you, man. If you're going to use popsicle sticks, I took them and I carved them, right? Like took a knife and sliced them, made them wavy, broke it off, and then it makes it look more like real planking. You know? Little gate, basically painted up, a little bit of fine flocking for grass so that it sits on the grass table and looks good. I like the idea of like, it's like there's a bit of grass growing in there, but the pigs have kind of tromped it down. All right, that's the farm stuff. Now I don't have to make a tutorial on farm stuff. I probably will eventually, just on the hay. I think the hay is a good, interesting, unique technique worthy of an episode. But like I said, most of this stuff stems from my own game, and I don't need to make any farm stuff for my own game, so I haven't made any more. Yeah, so our little casket here is looking pretty good. I think I'll do what I can't do. I can't do a full wash because it's still too wet, but I would like to get this sorry, off-camera stuff. I would like to get this rip detailing a little bit more visible, so I think I'll do a wash just in that point. We're just going to drop a bit of the black wash into this here. My very fancy, expensive wash of craft paint, water, and a drop of dish soap. I feel like as I get better at crafting, I need to improve my painting, which means I should probably think about getting some proper model paints. Like, not for big terrain, like I think it's stupid to use it on big stuff, it's a waste. But like my houses and stuff like this, I think it's worth maybe doing. Can we get a bit of a wash onto these textures here? Is it too wet still? We'll see. So guys, how is the video and audio still holding up okay? Can you, like this top down, like my face, I don't care how blurry it is, but the top down camera of the table, are you guys actually able to see clear enough what I'm doing that it's worth the hassle of setting it up like that? Like obviously it's not going to be as clear as when I do a filmed tutorial, but is it enough? Like, is it respectable for live streaming purposes? Weathered wood. What about weathered wood? Why the dish soap? Okay, I am not a painting expert. I'm pretty new to it. But from everything I've read or seen about washes, there's three elements that make a wash. One is like you take your paint and a lot of water. You like really dilute it with water. and you add, what the dish soap does is it acts as a flow aid. I think like a proper wash that you buy, like Games Workshop and whatever sells flow aids. It's basically so that when you paint, it breaks the surface tension, and that wash seeps into all the cracks. It doesn't like sit on the surface. And dish soap, a very small amount, works as a flow aid. It just like breaks the surface tension. And when you have a lot of fine details, like when you have, you know, something like this, right? You have all these little crevices of wood. It allows that wash to kind of really go, and you'll see it. If you use a wash without it, it'll just kind of sit. With the dish soap, it'll like really run and go further into those cracks, which is exactly what you want to be doing. Okay. I need to zoom in on smaller objects. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do some research. I'm using a program. The top-down view is not from a webcam. It is from my iPhone, and I'm using a program that takes the video from the iPhone over my network wirelessly, sends it to a program on the computer that opens a window that shows that feed. So it works as a webcam, and then in OBS, oh, did I just lose it? As I'm talking about it, I totally just lost it, I'm pretty sure. Oh, it's back. Anyways, it's on a window, and then OBS has it, so whatever. But the point where I'm getting with this is that, you know, when you normally have your iPhone for filming, you can focus. You can boop, press a dot and focus. It won't allow me to do that. It's just like viewing it and that's it. However, it is the free app that I just wanted to test. They have one that you can buy for like $10. So I'm assuming that maybe the one you can buy has more features like that, and this seems to be working, so I'll probably get the real paid app, and hopefully it allows me to zoom in so that you guys can see stuff like this a little bit better. I mean, if you're seeing this as good as I'm seeing it on like the OBS, like on my computer, then it's good, but I don't know. I should look at the YouTube display. I'm gonna have to go back and watch the archived one to kind of see, but okay. Cloudburst says, the ideas are awesome. My brain will explode because of this. Good. That's the point. It's all in the details. Absolutely. Dish soap we talked about. It's working great. I'm hoping that's talking about the stream, which is awesome. Top down's great. I've had a couple momentary buffer skips in the stream, but they may have been on my end. Yeah, I mean, you never know, right? Like, it also depends how good your guys is. Surface cant. I don't know if that's you're talking about surface tension or spelling sufficient wrong. I don't know. I like the top-down view. Good. For demonstration, top-down is far more useful than a regular face cam. Yeah, I think so. That's the point. Like I am not fucking Hanker and Fernail. I can't talk about D&D for 2 hours and have it be super informative on its own. Like, I'm good at crafting, so I want you guys to be able to see what I actually do. Maybe just a little brighter. I don't know if I can make it brighter. I have a few hundred watts of halogen or fluorescent lights in the ceiling, and I have 2 LED strip lights right above the table. Like, it is very bright. It is this brighter than the light that I use for filming the video, like for tutorials, which comes with good. So that's a YouTube thing, I think. I'll see if I can work on that. Joshua, I'm on a binge of making small bits, potion bottles, books, scrolls, etc. Any tips or pointers? My pointer on bits like potion bottles and books is that this is personal. Like, this is my personal opinion. I think those are unnecessary craft items. I don't think they add to gameplay too much, so I try not to spend too much time on stuff like that. However, if you're doing bookshelves and you want to fill them, I think then that's a good way to do it. But I would avoid like little fiddly bits that move around. So like when people make like plates with meals on them, it's like then it's like too much into dollhouse territory. But whatever. Anyway, but in terms of actual crafting advice, uh, is it DMG? I think DMG has a thing on books like with the popsicle sticks and the felt, which I think is a really cool technique. I would scale it down and use smaller like coffee stir sticks. But basically, I think with stuff like that, Sculpey is your friend. I think I would make potion bottles and stuff out of Sculpey, bake them, and do it. One thing is I know like DMG has had a few videos, like where he did like potion bottles, candles and stuff, and Scotty had those candles he did recently. And they look good, but they're like as big as the characters, and I'm not really into the like having a candle that's 3 feet tall. Like I know it's just a representation, and it doesn't have to be to scale, but I don't know if you have to represent a candle. So it's to me it's just set dressing, so it should be to scale. So my advice would be only do it because you want to do it, because you definitely don't need it for your game. But if you enjoy it, then by all means. And if you're gonna do it, maybe actually sculpt it out of Sculpey and try to keep the size a little bit more realistic than some people do. Wow, iPhone cam, surprise. Yeah, surprise. I mean, like, my tutorials are all 100% filmed on iPhone. I don't think that's surprising, man. We're carrying supercomputers with good cameras in our pockets. You can make a YouTube video with that. But the fact that I am wirelessly streaming the top-down view to my computer and then I have a program viewing, like taking that thing and putting it and then overlaying my webcam on my computer, and then it's going to, like, holy crap, man. Like, technology is insane that I can do this with, like, consumer-grade stuff. There have been some audio issues that make you sound Canadian. Yeah. Yeah. I gotta get the filter sorted for that to get rid of the Canadian. If by sound Canadian you mean sound correct, then you are correct, sir. It's a roof. It's not a rough. It's a roof. Surfactant equals soap. Okay, it's why it allows the paint to flow and not adhere to the surface. Interesting. Copyright dubstep, sup. Not much, just the tail end of this stream here, dude. Give everyone a materials list the day before your stream and we can build along. Then post. That is an awesome idea. That is a really, really good idea. I have to come up with a simple project that can be built minus paint. Like, I mean, paint is the thing, but like built in 2 hours and stuff. I like that idea, Cyrus. We've had some suggestions earlier in the stream because I presented the challenge of like what can we make out of styrofoam, and there's a few ideas there that we could use for that. But while, you know, with those of us that are still here, if I do something that is a stream where we work through something together, say ahead of time, like a week, I give you guys a list. What do you want to do for a project? Got to be something that is small though, like something that's self-contained in an hour. Like, you know, something like this is too small, but kind of perfect. Something like this little like hanging lantern deal, I think would be good. But we're not gonna make a full-on like crazy ass house. Maybe later, like if this thing, like the stream system picks up and we get the viewership and you guys are planned out, we can do that. So think about ideas for a project to build together on a live stream, and I really like that idea. We'll do it. If you can't come up with it now, Blackmagic Craft Facebook page. You can post on there, or once this video archives, post it in the comments. I'm going to pay attention to that. We're going to do that. That's a wicked idea. Beads make good potion bottles with smaller bead stoppers. Absolutely. I just recently bought one of those big mixed things from Michaels with all the different beads, and that's what did this lantern. It's a bead that was like a perfect shape for a lantern. I added a little loop for the hook, painted it. But anyway, those beads, if you get those assorted packs, it's hard to use them because they're all mixed. So I actually spent one night organizing all the beads from one of those packs, so that now if I'm doing a build, I have a better idea of what I have to work with. And I went a little OCD, and it's like, these are all round, these are all cylinders, these are all egg shaped, and these are all different shapes. But anyway, beads are super handy. I haven't been using them nearly enough because I didn't feel like spending money on beads, but they're worth it. Buy the cheap assorted packs. What's your opinion? Okay, Juan Humberto. Welcome, Juan. What's your opinion about 3D dungeons and 2.5D? I love the way a full 3D dungeon looks, but I mean, as has been talked about by many people, I do not like the idea of walls in my dungeon that impede playability. But 2.5, like the cardboard flat tiles, hold on one second. My phone is doing this like top-down view, so if I get a text, it's weird. Anyway, the 2.5 tiles, like cardboard, are super ergonomic, like practical, but I don't love the look of them. So where I find myself as a crafter and a DM always sitting is that I want the look of 3D, the feel of 3D, but with the playability of 2D. So my tiles, I do them all out of styrofoam. I'll just grab one of my dungeon tiles. So this is how I do my dungeon tiles. They're out of 1/2-inch styrofoam. They have no walls, but they are thick. They have depth to them. They have shape. Feels like 3D, but it's flat, no walls. And I was showing earlier my game table. It's a black table. I'm really big on the idea of negative space representing the walls. So I don't need a wall here. This is a black table. There's no floor. My players know there's a wall. And then if it's a room and knowing a door, well, we make doors, right? You saw me make these. You pop those on. No walls needed. It is clear to the players that these are walls. They can't walk through it, so they can figure it out. So anyways, that's my opinion about that. Maybe along the lines of the lantern and casket props and stuff. So yeah, Joshua, maybe we can do like a little 3-piece set dressing, like 3 things that go together, 3 things to decorate a mausoleum or something. But I'm gonna wait. Like I'm gonna let you guys spend some time thinking about that and leave me some comments later, and we'll pick a project to work through together. We don't need to figure that out tonight. Cyrus, your camera got a text. It did. Did you guys see it vibrate? Like, I'm pretty sure the screen vibrated because I'm using my phone to film a top-down view going through the ether space. Like, it's weird, man. Hankerin is here. Oh, hi, Hank. Stream seems to be mildly successful. Like, we figured out how to make it work, and you're catching just the end of it. Negative space to find the walls is great. Yeah, it's simple. Yeah, 2.60, Hank. Pick and pick. I don't have 1080p, but I got pick and pick. You like that shit? Yeah. Because like I mentioned here earlier, Hank, I can't talk for 2 hours about D&D. I don't have all the knowledge, but I can craft. So what we're going to do with this is, like you said, make a live crafting show. This is going to be a live crafting show. Tonight was the test, but we're going to actually make a proper live crafting show with this top-down view. Hank, you missed it. I presented a challenge to the viewers. I said, what can we make out of styrofoam? And I'll make it. And a whole bunch of stuff that would be great for a big video, but someone said a casket, and we made this little styrofoam casket today, live on the stream. So that's how we roll. Canada can't do live streams. You know. Knowing you guys, next week Scotty will have a full 3D holographic stream or something, and it will all be made of cardboard. Is there a way to make holograms out of cardboard? Because Scotty will probably do it. 4D. Yeah, 4D tiles. My players went through this like spinning labyrinth kind of deal, dungeon, where time was an issue. So that's how you do a 4D dungeon tiles. You make it like a hypercube, and then as you're playing, you regret your decisions in life and think, why couldn't I just had a simple Kragma hideout, not fucking hypercube. Don't do it, guys. Don't do it. Okay, so what's your group doing next in your campaign? Next in my campaign, we are running into my homebrew. I am going to run Absolute Tabletops, Sewers Under Sandwall, Reskinned, because I needed a creative. I was talking about this earlier. I needed a break from writing the campaign and figuring out the mechanics of it and crafting, and I needed to get to a point where I could just focus on running the game smoothly and crafting for it without having to write the story. So I needed a few sessions break where I just threw in some pre-gen kind of adventures. So, but I mean, obviously I can't just take it directly. Like, I'm gonna make it totally different, I'm sure. But our poor shipwrecked party has spent several days on an island, trudging through craps, starving. They encountered a town that was desolate and haunted by evil spirits that they spent the session freeing, and it was a super fun session. They marched for several more days, out of rations, out of food. Like, the island was desolate. They could only find crap to eat, no real sustenance. They were starving. They finally found, we showed it already, you've seen this, they found this nice little house by the side of the road, the first view of humanity in days, and some very nice ladies welcomed them in. They had stew on the stove. It smelled delicious. They had them eat. It was great. And those three ladies turned out to be green hags who were just getting sick enjoyment out of feeding them the flesh of the past travelers and making them unsuspecting cannibals. And that was last session, basically fighting these hags and eating people. So now they're going to continue on the road, and they're finally going to get to a real ass place where they can get a boat, so I can reuse my boat, and they can go back home. But I needed something in between, and we're gonna run that absolute tabletop infected sewer business with man sharks. That's what's gonna happen. Man sharks. There is a room in one of the modules where the room is a sphere. What the fuck do I do here? I don't know. The room is a sphere. Styrofoam ball. You need a styrofoam ball. Rise of the Rune Lords? Yeah, I don't know how you do that. What level are your PCs? They are currently level 5. So, your adventure sounds like life in North Dakota. Bitch, please, North Dakota. I'm from Manitoba. North Dakota ain't got nothing on Manitoba. You guys have tropical winters, as far as I'm concerned. All right, how long? Wow, first stream, and we're coming up on 3 hours here. So I think North Dakota is Cuba to this guy. No, Cuba is Cuba to this guy because I'm Canadian and I've been going to Cuba almost every year for the past several years because you Americans couldn't go there, and it was a haven for us Canadian tourists because we could go there and it was like a little Canada and there was no Americans. It was great, but now you guys can go there, so it's just gonna be like Mexico now. Yeah, Cyrus, like, this is the funny thing. I go down to North Dakota. Well, not right now because the dollar's bad, but when the dollar is good, we go down to North Dakota and we do some shopping. We do weekend trip to Fargo. And it's funny because we go down south. You guys are down south. But legit, like, North Dakota is basically the same as Manitoba. From Texas. I love Texas. The last time I was in Texas was in San Antonio when I was performing there, and I had to perform at a festival for 2 hours, and I spent the other 3 days eating barbecue because that's all I cared about in Texas was eating barbecue. And I had pulled pork macaroni and cheese, and it was the best pulled pork macaroni and cheese I've ever had. Your house needs color. Which house? Like the house I built? Like this house needs color? What are you talking about, Hank? This house needs color? Or are you talking about like this, like the actual house? Because if that's like what you mean, this is just like yeah, IRL, this place. Okay, like I told you, missed the beginning of the stream, Hank. This is my old workshop for woodworking, and it's becoming the craft zone. This isn't even actually part of the house. This is the garage. Okay, this is the garage that's been turned into a usable space. And I was telling the guys before, I want to get my D&D game out the dining room and into the hobby room. So I'm going to completely renovate this room. I'm going to do fucking wood ceiling and floors and timbers and paint it up, and I'm going to build a sweet ass D&D table, and I'm going to make it look like a tavern. So yeah, that's why it looks like crap in here, because this is my workshop. I used to do woodworking in here. It had to be bright and clean and white. So that's that. He just wanted to hear you say house some more. Like, do I say house weird? Is that like one of your weird, you guys think we talk different, like about with our roofs, the roof on the house? I don't know. How do you say house? House. Anyway. Hoose? I don't know what you're talking about. But I have a roof on my house. I don't have a roof. My dog goes rough. But I have a roof. Okay. Anyways, guys, we are 6 minutes away from hitting 3 hours. This was supposed to be a test stream to see if it physically worked. It has, which is awesome. So now I have all my settings all locked in. It's all good. What we're going to do is we're going to plan out the next live stream well in advance, and we are going to build something together. So I want all y'all to think about the project that we can build in 2 hours or so. Post it in the comments to this video once it's archived, or post it on the Blackmagic Craft Facebook page, and I'm gonna pick something, and once I do, I'm gonna figure out what we need to actually make it, and I'm gonna give you guys a list, and we are gonna build something cool together. So it'll be all like Mr. Rogers and shit. It'll be like real sweet. Or for you other fellow Canadians, it'll be like Mr. Dress Up, because Mr. Rogers ain't got shit on Mr. Dress Up. Okay, guys. I don't know what time it is in your land, but in my land, it's midnight, and I got to be up for work in the morning. And it's been long enough, and it's been a success. So it's been a pleasure. Leave me those suggestions. We are going to make something cool together. Okay. Good night.